Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second edition of our Radio Northampton podcast that brings you exciting community news with guests from up and down the seacoast. I'm John Simmons, and today we're going to be joined by Parks and Recreation Director Joe Manzi. Joe, it's good to have you with us on the show today.
Well, it's great to be here. Thank you very much for having me. I'm a big fan of the show. I know there was only one previous episode, but I loved it, and I think it's a wonderful thing for Northampton. Any promotion we can get out of the positive work that Channel 22 does is greatly appreciated.
Awesome. Well, we're going to get you some promotion today. So you've been director for roughly a year, but you've already got like a bunch of summer activities planned for people of all ages. Can you tell us a little bit about what you got lined up for the summer?
Sure. We're trying to light as many sparks as we can and hope we get some fires out of them. So this summer, probably the couple of things as we first of all head into summer, get people thinking about summer. We have a Red Sox trip coming up again. That's going to be on Sunday, June 9th. It's a direct coach bus that comes right from the school to Fenway Park. Both the Red Sox and the weather are heating up. It's been a tough spring, so this is a way to kind of get everybody around that mode of summer. They're playing the Tampa Rays, are currently the first place team. So, we're looking for that as sort of a way to kind of break us into summer. Before that happens, we, of course, have the Memorial Day barbecue. So after the parade and the festivities on Memorial Day, Monday, May 27th, we'll have the barbecue. It's been a very successful event the last couple of years. It actually started as part of the anniversary a couple of years ago of the town, and then last year we continued it. So we have that coming up as well. We'll have adult co-ed softball season again. Will be coming the end of June. And that's an important program for us because we're really trying to emphasize we're looking for first-time players. We're looking for more females. We're looking for mother, daughter, father, daughter, son combinations, all of that, and people who haven't played before to really give it a nice community recreational feel. There's plenty of leagues and sports out there that are about other things. We're trying to be about community and having a great time. So that's an important program for us. We'll also have tennis lessons for all ages, levels, and genders, once again with Mark Moulton, who's the premier tennis coach in the area. He's renowned. Everybody knows Mark is a great coach, and he's been in Northampton for years, so we'll have those lessons back. We'll have, of course, our summer camp, which we're building this year. We have extended hours. It'll begin the week of July 1st for 7 weeks, based primarily out of the Northampton School. So we'll run that. And that's going to actually lead us this year into the fact that we'll be doing the after-school program at the school for the first time. So that's something we can maybe talk a little bit more about. But our grand jewel, I guess, of the summer is going to be the Old Home Day. That's going to be entrenched for the second Saturday in August. We hope to make that a yearly tradition. We tried last year and we were weathered out of it. So we do have a rain backup date of the 11th. But again, another event that's going to be sort of for the people, but also of the people of Northampton, and sort of a big all-day event on August 10th. So we're looking forward to that.
Wow, that's awesome. That definitely sounds like a fun, action-packed summer. So talk about the after-school program a little bit more. What have you guys got on your agenda for that?
Yeah, so we're, as mentioned, we're going to be taking over the after-school program for the first time. I personally have a long history of working in after-school programs and running after-school programs for recreation departments. And really our goal and why we think it's a great fit is it's community-oriented. So we're based at the school. We're working closely with the school. We will bring other departments and other community-type activities to do. And we're license exempt, basically meaning that we can run our programs safely and sculpt it in that way, sort of as a community program. And we're looking forward to just sort of bringing in as many different variables in the town. We've already talked with the library and the fire department, things like that, just again to sort of tie everything in together as a community.
That's awesome. So another big development from the department has been that you guys just bought a new van for transportation, and a lot of people are happy with that purchase. What drove you to buy that and make that investment for the town?
Well, that was one of the things that I luckily stumbled into, because those wheels were in motion prior to my hire, which basically meant that a warrant article was passed to purchase the van. Previously, they were using a regular passenger van, which was really uncomfortable. Particularly, we have a great senior population and very active with trips in town. And that, as you can imagine, was very difficult, both loading and unloading the van and around the seats and so forth. So this is really a comfortable vehicle, primarily for that, what we call the PASA group, the Programs for Active Seniors and Adults. But quite honestly, for all needs that we have, we've already done several things with our youth programs and no school days and things like that. So the kids love it as well because it is, as I say, very comfortable and a cool vehicle to have. So
That's awesome. So you mentioned that we've got a very active senior population in town, and you've recently done a luncheon for the seniors. What's your motivation to just make sure that seniors are also getting opportunities to do fun stuff like this?
yeah, I think one of the big things is getting their feedback. And fortunately, they're not real shy about giving it to me, which I appreciate, because I'm flexible to do it, whatever makes them happy, whatever we can do. My overall philosophy, not just for that group, but for the town in general, is I don't say no unless I have to, because I want to encourage people to come forward with ideas. I'd rather, and that's kind of how I am with putting programs out too. I'll swing and miss frequently, but I'll keep swinging. And so they're an active group. They're a great group. They primarily transport themselves to our luncheons, which we have the third Tuesday of every month, and they want to do stuff. So it's up to me to kind of gauge what exactly they do want to do and to put it out there. And they've been very receptive and, let's say, a really fun, active group.
That's awesome. And let's talk a little bit about what you called the jewel of your summer, the Old Homes Day. What's the big draw? What makes this the magnum opus of all the summer activities that you've got planned?
I would probably answer that by saying that there isn't necessarily a big draw because, again, as I go back to sort of an old home day feel to it, and it's about community and it's about coming together. So yes, we'll have like the Baja Brothers concert, graciously sponsored by the bandstand committee, and we'll have our dunk tanks and we'll have lots of things going on. But there's also a lot of simple things in there that people enjoy doing, and it brings the community together. So if we're doing face painting or the old-fashioned children's games, such as the three-legged race or the wheelbarrow race, all those kinds of things that sort of bring communities and families together, and we can have a great time without it simply being us hiring out a bunch of vendors to come in and put on that kind of a show. So that's really kind of what we're hoping for, is to involve as many organizations and citizens as possible.
That's awesome. And talk about the Red Sox trip a little bit more. Is this an annual thing that you do?
Yeah, I mean, this is basically my second opportunity to do it, and we've done it both years. So last year it sold out very quickly. This year, maybe going hand in hand with both the weather and the team, the tickets haven't moved as quickly. So we have opportunities for people to join us, and love to have them.
Awesome. Well, Joe, thank you so much for joining us today. We hope that everything that you've got planned goes successfully this summer, and we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you for having me. Continued success to you and Channel 22. Really appreciate your work.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And this is Radio Northampton. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Radio Northampton, where we have our second guest on the show today, a visual arts teacher at Northampton School, Miss Marsha Zavez. Marsha, it's good to have you with us today.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
So, you just finished producing a play at the school. Can you tell us a little bit about that and all the work that you did to get that going?
Sure. I've been doing the plays at Northampton School for about 20 years now. And I've taken on a lot of roles. Some I direct them or I produce them, and combination of both. I also design the set and build the set, and love it. It's just something that helps me get to know the kids in a different way. And I did a lot of community theater growing up. I've done plays and drama for years and years. So to combine the things that I love, art and drama, in a job that I do at school with kids, I mean, there's nothing better than that. So for the play this year, we did Beauty and the Beast. And we had a cast of about 50 kids, and it's grades 6, 7, and 8. They go through the audition process where they audition for their parts. We cast the show. I work with Jeffrey Elwood and Adele Jones, who this is what they do for a living. They go around, they do work at Camp Center Stage and have their own production company. So anyways, we work together. We audition the kids, we cast the show, then we have rehearsals, and it's about a 2-month process. They start in January. We have to wait to really get into it till after basketball season, which is February. And then we rehearse a few nights a week and put on a show, and it's great. I mean, the kids, it's teamwork, it's working together, they make new friends. It's just a great event, and it's something that the kids look forward to when they're in elementary school. They look forward to being in the shows when they're in 6th grade, and it's just a fun thing for everybody.
That's awesome. So after that whole production came to fruition, I'm sure that you must have felt relieved just to have that burden off your shoulders for a little bit. But what was the reception of the play afterwards? Like, what were people saying to you after they came and saw it?
Oh, people loved it. The production quality is great. My philosophy is, if you're going to do something, do it well. So you do the best you can. We could do a little show, and it would be something we'd get a few kids to do, and no sets, and not a lot of rehearsals, and just be something fun. But I like to go big, and so we have great sets. We have parents that help us out. So we have wonderful costuming. We have concessions going on. The volunteers at Northampton are just amazing. I can't say enough about them, and they help the whole thing come together. And the show is wonderful. Quality's great. So I hear what I hear. Your question was, what do you hear? I hear that the quality's wonderful. It's a great experience for the kids. They have more confidence afterwards, better self-esteem. They're used to being on stage and performing, and for other people, for an audience, and it's all good.
That's awesome. So we're gonna switch gears for a little bit here. You were recently nominated for a prestigious award in the state. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, I was nominated by our principal, Dr. Anderson, for Teacher of the Year this year, which I had never, not anything I'd ever thought about. I'd never really heard about it. I don't think we've done it at our school before. And so he asked me if I would be okay being nominated for Teacher of the Year, and I said yes, not really knowing what was involved. And then found out, I wrote paper. I had to write papers. I had to get resumes. I had to have people write letters about me. I had to answer some questions. So it was more involved than I had anticipated, but that was okay. And I was honored to have him think that I, was someone worthy of being nominated for Teacher of the Year. And then I went to something in Concord. We had to have a little, like a luncheon in Concord with all the other nominees. And then from there, I did find out that I was nominated, or I went a little further, and I am now a semifinalist for Teacher of the Year. So the pool's gotten a little smaller. And then recently, the Department of Education representatives came to our school. So they interviewed me along with kids, a bunch of kids, students and staff members, parents, school board members, administration, and then they observed me teaching a class. And so it went really well. I wish I could have been in the room to listen to what everybody said about me, but I heard it was all good, which was nice. And I will find out in June, sometime mid-June maybe, if I've made it to the next round, which would be the finals, where I would have to give some kind of a speech on my platform, what it is that I believe in and what it is that I would talk to other teachers about. And then if I go from there, then in September, they vote on the final Teacher of the Year for New Hampshire, for the state of New Hampshire.
Well, that's awesome. Congratulations. I'm sure that's got to feel very rewarding.
It does. I feel like I have to say this. I feel like I've already won because at our school, people have been so supportive. Parents have been so nice. Kids have been great. It's if it ends here, I'm good. Because it's just been a wonderful experience and nothing that I ever expected. And I feel like I've already won some big award when, just gaining the support and the love of the people at our school.
That's awesome. So, Northampton School just had an art show recently. Is that correct?
That is correct.
What happened there, and can you tell us a little bit about that as well?
Sure. We had an art show. It's a school-wide art show, so kids from kindergarten all the way through 8th grade had artwork on display. And some of the artwork was from projects that we've given. Some was just artwork that they requested that I put in the show. And the quality of work is wonderful. The whole community was asked to come and just look at the artwork. We had PAL help us out. They had ice cream sundae, make your own ice cream sundae. It was in coordination with the book fair. So we had the book fair in the gym, art show all around the bottom level of the school, ice cream sundaes and craft things going on in the cafeteria. And I'm going to keep the show up so that people that are going to the chorus concert sometime in June, I forget the exact date, sorry, but begin first week of June, go to see the art show before you go to the concert. So I say, put your coat down, find your seat in the cafeteria, and then go and look at the art if you didn't get to make it for the art show, because it's really worthwhile.
That's awesome. And where in the school is all this art going to be displayed?
It is downstairs. So if you come in the school, go downstairs, all where the art room is, on the very first floor. And it's all in the hallways. It's on bulletin boards and in little lobby areas. Just so nothing on the second or third floor, but everything on the first floor.
That's awesome. Well, Marsha, thank you so much for coming on. We really enjoyed having you today, and best of luck in the Teacher of the Year award. We hope that you do well with that.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed being with you.
Thank you. This has been Radio Northampton. Stay tuned for more right after this.
Welcome back to Radio Northampton. I'm John Savastano, and I'm joined today by Laurie Caruso, the president of SafeFi Technologies. Laurie's firm is a public safety communications consulting firm. And Laurie, thanks for joining us. Based on your previous experience and time spent in the industry, and also cultivating your own business model, what's your advice to women on starting and operating a successful venture?
Yeah, when I talk to these young women coming out of college and mentoring these wonderful women that have so much ahead of them, it's very important that, the words of advice, never stop learning. I know obviously they're coming out of college and they've just had so much experience from education, but it's so critical, especially in different fields, to make sure that they're on a constant basis of learning. With learning, it builds confidence, and that's critical, especially in a technology world where you don't see many women. I don't see many women in my field. So I always say that. And, when they're working side by side with some of the best people in the industry, learn from those people. They're experts. And at one point, you will become an expert too by obviously learning from those people. And, it's so critical just to build that confidence. Also, network. There's so many people in the industry that, you can learn from. But when you're out there years later and you have that network of experience, you'll find that you're going to be using them. But most importantly, they're also going to use you. And that's just building that sales approach and using and utilizing those people in that network. And more importantly, just don't give up. I mean, there's so many challenges that you're faced with along the way. And, you stay strong for yourself. Just, you take those challenges on. And, there's certainly fear. There's certainly fear with starting a new company, and certainly fear with, being an organization that is male dominating. But, just take that on. Just don't give up and have confidence.
Well, Laurie, thanks for that. As far as the industry you've particularly chosen, how did you apply your previous experiences and roll it into your current project?
Yes, I've been in the telecommunications industry for a very long time. Back in the early 90s, I started in this career. And that was when we had bag phones, installed phones in vehicles. I have seen technology change on a constant basis. I mean, even from the start of 1X, which I still see around here, by the way, 1X to 2X, which is the start of text messaging, 3G, which is the start of being able to, get on the internet and starting to download certain data applications. Now we're at LTE and we're seeing, streaming video. I'm seeing streaming video from like sporting events and such. That's actually giving that thought. 5G coming into it, that's a whole nother technology. We're talking autonomous vehicles. We're talking so many different things that are going to be working on 5G. But when I look at this and I ask about public safety, no one really knows what to say about public safety. And it's a critical response of communication, because ultimately we are providing that communication for those first responders through a tragedy. With risk comes loss of life. And if there's no communication from a public safety perspective, we're going to have challenges. So ultimately, that's what I'm here to develop from SafeFi Technologies. I'm here to consult with the business users, the business owners, the property managers, how to install a public safety system that will meet the regulations and the mandates which are now being enforced. I've seen buildings not able to receive occupancy permitting because they had no idea that they had to have a public safety system installed. And at that moment, when that first responder goes in and they're ready to receive their permitting and they start walking around with their devices aren't working where they should be. And that mandate will then say they're not going to open. I'll never forget, I was doing a carrier install, making those cell phones work at a hospital in New York City. And it was a brand new hospital. And they were so excited. The day was happening. They had the ribbon cutting ceremony ready to go. And they did not receive occupancy permitting because they could not hold to the standards of the public safety system. It delayed them. It was costly. I just saw so much throughout my career. So I know there's pain points with public safety, and that's why I'm taking it on.
And communications in this world is the key.
Sure.
I mean, at my level, I would probably say, well, you know something? Kudos to the people who came up with streaming video on iPhones for guys, because simply now you can, if you're stuck going to some party or a wedding, you can have the football game on your lap, watching a game and not miss it because you had to go to the wedding.
Absolutely.
But that's a silly notion compared to what you're dealing with, especially in the public safety sector. Let's talk about your current venture specifically and your starting points and where you want to go with it.
Yeah. SafeFi Technologies, my goal is to stop or to eliminate pain points. And these mandates that are being forced through certain jurisdictions, there's a national effort. And it all started with actually 9/11. 9/11, there was so much loss of life. And for the most part, that loss of life came from the fact that first responders could not communicate. It's almost like a parking garage. Cell phone users are it's like a parking garage. If that parking garage is filled up, those cell phone calls won't go through. It's actually jamming the network. And that's what we found during 9/11. Those first responders could not communicate and everything failed. So that's where these regulations and mandates are actually coming in and being enforced. Now we're seeing, like I said, occupancy permitting is not available. And then they're being told, the building owners being told, you have to install a $500,000 system. And they don't have the funding for it. And they're literally stuck. Do I open or do I try, and how do I pay for it? So virtually what Safe-Fi Technologies will do is they'll educate the building owner, letting them know what requirements are involved. What do they need to do? Whether it's fire wrapping cable or, having a 24-hour battery backup. What do those regulations look like? That's what I'm here to help with. But also the pain point of funding. I need a solution that's going to be able to support from not just a capital expenditure, but from an OpEx. So it'll help budget. They'll be able to budget accordingly. So
Yeah.
I fixed that pain point as well. And then obviously from a commissioning standpoint, there's just so many different pieces to this install. It's not just a normal data or DAS or carrier install. There's so much more to it. There's so much more risk because there could be potential loss of life. Yeah. But I've got the right people and the right resources backing me to be able to do that successfully.
Yeah, well, that's great for you. And also it sounds like it would have to be incorporated as part of a person's not only business plan,
Yes,
but construction plan
absolutely.
ahead of time. Now, it's common knowledge in Northampton that there is a lack of cell service in many, many areas. And that's something that may have to be remedied, I guess, through this mandated situation. We hope one day, of course, it does.
Yeah.
I personally have to step outside of my house on my particular road, and there are 2 yellow lines that are painted. If I'm on one yellow line, no service. I'm on the line closest to the beach, which is 4 inches away. I get service.
Absolutely.
So, we all know there are enhancements to make and such, but this is a very important factor and a key element in a town's future plans.
Absolutely. Yeah, with FirstNet coming, I mean, we're looking at, obviously being able to dial 911 from rural areas. And if that's not happening within a certain time frame, there's going to be some issues. There's no question. I mean, the regulations are here. They're coming. And that's what that's what my chosen duty is here. And that's where my passion is. I want to be able to inform the municipalities. I want to be able to get out there and help the first responders to be able to secure that data and that information. So everybody's proactive versus reactive. I mean, from that point alone, cost-wise, it helps, certainly helps. And you talked about construction phases, architectural phases. These buildings now are so energy efficient, these LEED buildings. I mean, they have the low E glass, they have concrete walls. Everything is so environmentally protected. But no one realizes that RF, the frequency that tries to get in, cannot penetrate those networks. They can't penetrate those walls or that low E glass. So it forces us to be able to install infrastructure in those buildings to allow communications to happen. And that's ultimately where it goes.
Laurie, thanks so much for joining us. That's a lot to digest, but it's necessary to digest it, especially if you are an up-and-coming company who is not only just part of the business plan, as I said, what you're building and how you're going to approach it. This is all of a big factor in years to come, so we congratulate you for that.
Thank you.
Laurie, thanks so much for joining us here, and any final thoughts?
Well, again, I appreciate you having me on. I think this is a really important piece here, and that's why I'm taking it on. I want to be able to help and support for this effort.
Great stuff. Laurie Caruso has been our guest here on Radio Northampton. We'll be back after this.
Special thanks to our guests Joe Manzi, Marsha Zavez, and Laurie Caruso. So for Radio Northampton, I'm John Simmons.
And I'm John Sabastano.
And join us next time on Radio Northampton.